Okay, let's get into it. I'm going to briefly explain how this evening is going to work. First off, thank you so much to Shaw TV for being here tonight to film the proceedings. As Kim already told you, Friday at 2 o'clock you can catch this again, Saturday at 9 p.m. and Wednesday at 3 o'clock. This will be rebroadcast for anyone who didn't make it tonight. You can let them know. So we're going to be starting with 2-minute opening statements from all of our candidates this evening in alphabetical order according to last name, and they're going to be invited to come over to this podium. Everyone should be comfortable and deliver the 2 minutes to the audience. We have a timer tonight who's going to keep track of everything. Bill Jones, he's a stickler, and you don't want to mess with him. He's got the light system here. It's going to work very well for us. When your time is halfway through, you'll see the yellow light, and then I will sort of start encroaching on your space if you start to go over your time. You do get a 10-second grace period. And then, yes, that's the cutoff sound. Okay. So we have questions gathered by local media outlets from their readers and listeners, and we also have questions submitted by some of you this evening. We won't be taking questions from the floor this evening. The questions have been specifically directed to up to 3 candidates, and they've been pre-screened by our scrutineers, Merv and Adam. As the moderator, I'm going to be asking the questions. Candidates, you will have 30 seconds to answer the questions. We're going to keep it snappy tonight. Candidates also have 2 rebuttal chits. Do you have those handy? Okay, we'll make sure you get hooked up with those. Don't worry. Chits? And so the way these work, because the questions are being specifically directed to 3 candidates, if you were hoping you were going to get a chance to answer that question, you can put your hand up and cash in one of your chits and then have a chance to answer the question. All of the questions will be answered from the tables or the microphones at your table. And once we hit 9 o'clock, I'm going to cut off the question period, and candidates will have 1 minute to do a closing statement. We're just handing out our rebuttal chits. They're precious, don't waste them. And we're going to start with the 2-minute opening statement from candidate Brunie Brunie. Brunie, if I could invite you to come up to the podium for your opening statement.
Hi there, people of Nanaimo. It makes my heart sing to see so many of you. And you know, we have different nationalities, we have different customs. No, I'm going to go here. You said where?
Check, check. Okay, there we go.
Here we are all together. We have different customs. We have different nationalities. We have different beliefs and different values. But you know what? Here we are, and we're not shooting at each other. Isn't that a plus? Yeah. You know, we breathe the same air. We drink the same water. You know, we are united here with our love for Nanaimo. On the count of 3, everybody say their first names. 1, 2, 3. Brunie! Look at that. Because together, dear people, there is no problem that cannot be solved. And that's one of the things I really want to work for. It's called democracy. This is your only vote now, so treasure it. It's the only vote you got. You're going to let all of us decide what to do with your city. I disagree with that. And I will see that you have a vote. We have the technology today where certain important issues, you vote on it. And then it becomes your city, for the people, by the city. And I want to see what you people can do. Because, hey, am I supposed to be the smartest one? You're smart, and you're smart. And if we put our heads and hearts together, this city of Nanaimo will rock it. You know, there's a lot of smart developers in this town. I even met a lady developer. But you know, we gotta stop cutting all the trees down with development. Is that the best thing to do? We have some of the most beautiful trees in the world. And the birds come here all winter and nest here. We can do it better. We have to move towards a green sustainability. And tell me why we cannot grow food. 80% of our food comes with trucks across the line. There is money in food. There is money in going green. And lots of jobs.
Thank you very much, Brunie. Thank you. Next up is Bill Holdom. I'd like to invite you up to the podium.
Well, this is the third time I followed Brunie in these all candidates meetings. It's wonderful to see so many of you here. I'm really pleased. That's real participation in our democracy. I'm Bill Holdom, and I'm asking for your vote. Many people have told me recently that they've come to Nanaimo and they really like the way it is, just the way it is. Then, of course, they quickly start telling me about all the improvements that should be made here. And it reminded me that as we embrace the changes that are necessary to be done, we also must protect those areas of the city that we value the most, whether those are our parks or our facilities or just the way we do things. I believe, because of the long-time service on council, that I am the candidate who can provide a link between the past and the future. That's why I've been advocating that we should move from Plan Nanaimo to Action Nanaimo, so that we can focus on those activities and those projects that move us closer to the goals of sustainability and livability that are the hallmarks of that plan. To be clear, I don't want to see unbridled development here. I don't want to see the privatization of our services. I don't want to see the kinds of things that would tear us apart. We have the talent right here to develop good, homegrown, and affordable solutions that fit our locale and our history. I do favor moving forward one step at a time, encouraging creative contributions to the well-being of our community. I believe in Nanaimo. I believe in local government. And I believe Nanaimo deserves to be well-governed and well-run, and that's what I promise you as your mayor.
Thank you, Bill. I'll invite Gary Korpan to the podium.
Thanks, Hilary. Fellow candidates, ladies and gentlemen, this is a great scene. The turnout in the last election was 27%, and that is atrocious just after Remembrance Day. People died to protect our democracy, and this is a good sign that we respect that sacrifice that's been made. Get out and vote. Tell all of your friends to do the same. My name is Gary Korpan. You've entrusted the mayorship to me 5 times between 1993 and 2008. You wanted a change in 2008, you got it. But the person who promised you the most open and transparent government in Nanaimo history has done the exact opposite. I have a little poem for you. This is the theme of my campaign. Stop the spending spree, end the secrecy, cut the subsidies, cease council idiocy, core review city activities, re-elect our mayor, Gary. You have concern about the spending that's gone out of control in this council, the current council. I'm going to do something about it. I'm serious about a core review. Not like the people who have been talking about a core review for 3 years and not doing it. I'm committed to doing it. You need to know that every function and activity and facility is operating at its optimum potential. You want to find out where the waste is, you want to stop it. Every institution, organization needs to review its abilities and follow new ideas and new methods and cost efficiencies. How can we say that our taxes are being well spent if we haven't looked at how it's being spent in these activities? A core review is essential. Anybody here that has questions, I'll be staying around behind. Come and talk to me personally. I'll try and answer your questions. On November 15th, get out to vote. I'd appreciate if you voted for me. If you want real change, I'm the candidate to do it. But get out and vote. Thanks very much.
I'd like to invite Bill McKay up to the podium.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. My name is Bill McKay. For the folks who don't know that, as my son would say, I'm 59.6 years old, and I have two sons that are now adults. I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter, and I have a very warm and loving, supportive lady at home named Valerie that has been supporting me for 6.5 years on this journey to where I am today. For 3.5 years prior to going to being elected on council, I was actually in the gallery. I was doing my apprenticeship. That apprenticeship was about learning the job. So in 2011, I was elected, and I have not stopped working since. I have 4 main pillars to my campaign and my vision for Nanaimo, and they are, number 1, focus on the job at hand. When you have a plan, stick to your plan. Make sure that you're focused on the job at hand. When you elect a council, they will have 7 of them will have responsibilities for over $320 million a year in spending. That's important. Cooperation. We have to cooperate amongst ourselves, with our senior staff, with other levels of government, and with our citizenry and the First Nations. We need to use imagination. We need to come up with out-of-the-box thinking, and we need to do things efficiently. We need to think about the best value for our money, not just getting the cheapest price at any price. We need to look forward. We need to continue to do what we think is best relative to uniting the city. It's not north, it's not south, it's looking forward. I certainly hope that I can have your support on November 15th. Bill McKay for mayor. Thank you.
Roger McKinnon.
Can't see it down here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roger McKinnon, and thank you for coming out tonight. I'd like to share a little bit about myself and why I'm running for mayor. I grew up in Port Alberni and moved here to go to college many years ago. And I've done a lot in the community recently for a lot of years, and president of the Children's Hospital in Nanaimo here, also all the communities in British Columbia for a couple of years fundraising, founding member of the VIU Foundation Board, founding member of a Rotary Club, and a few other things that to me are very important, and I spend a lot of time on that because they are. So after saying that and believing that children are our education and our future, I went to a lunch meeting, which most of us did last week, that's been bothering me a lot since that. Did you know that 38% of the families in Nanaimo live below the living wage? 38%. That's 4 to 10 families. That's shameful. We should be spending a little more time, I think, on that because we can do better. We're lucky to have a university here in the city where when our kids graduate, the problem is they can't find jobs here. Mine are out of town, like a lot of us are. We have to provide opportunities. They're the ones that are going to support us and pay the taxes, buy the new furniture, buy the cars, more than what a lot of us are doing. Keeping families together makes us prosperous and happy. Continuing and viable employment is another way. How do we create employment in Nanaimo? It's simple. We've got to get the employers and the business people here. Then we have to change the attitude and say, yes, we can. What can we do for you? How can we help you? How can you stay in the city to employ our people, hire hundreds of people, and get good paying jobs? We need to say, like I said, we have to say, yes, we can. Speaking of business, what's wrong with running the city like a business? With full, responsible plans. We must have the expenditures that are realistic, plans and budgets over the 5 years. Taxes have gone up 23% in the last 7 years, and they're about to go up another 10.5% in the next 3 years. That's money in your pocket, my money, my pocket. Speaking again of City Hall, one thing that we've learned is that right now there's no trust between the council staff members and also with the people of Nanaimo. We have to change that, work like a team, get this back to a city in Nanaimo because it's really important. And not look at all the past stuff that we've been doing from the dams, the ability, those are really important issues right now. But what are we going to do in a year from now for the next 3 years? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger. Jim Routledge is up next.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want a job. I use that line in about 300, 400 places of business that I've gone into the downtown area the last week. And I promptly showed my other card which is my real job. I have a real job. And I want to talk to you about three things tonight: jobs, management, and transparency. The other card I have, which you may have noticed me sharing around tonight, and a couple of you already have a preview of my speech. This is one of the cards that I picked up this morning walking into a business on Commercial, Devlin Signs. The gentleman, Blair Thorburn, mentioned to me that, about his business and the decline in the jobs that he's had people employed over the last few years, but that wasn't the most significant thing. What he mentioned to me was that Miller's Pub was closing tonight. And I kind of went, phew, geez, didn't know that. That's been, I stopped drinking 10 years ago, but that was a popular watering hole. So when I got home, I made a phone call. I called down, and I heard a bustle of the phone as soon as it answered, and the girl said, Miller's Pub. And I said, I heard you were closing, and she kind of sobbed. Yeah, we're closing. And it just hit me. I thought, okay, my campaign's been about jobs, but when a coal mining town and a mill town can't provide enough paychecks for a guy to go have a beer and keep a pub going, I'm starting to get a little worked up. So my next point, management. I did a commerce degree, marketing, out of UBC, worked for IBM for a couple of years, and it was all about systems and management. And what I learned is that every organization, a big system is in place, and there's little systems within that, and each of those have to be looked at carefully. A number of the problems, number of the results that we've had over the last year have been because of a management system breakdown. I want a new city manager. I want somebody with an MBA, somebody that has to compete, like I did, through 600 other people to get one of 2 job offers out of UBC that year. I want a higher standard, I want to bring jobs, and I want to share all the information that I do so you see it when I see it. Transparency, management, and jobs. Vote Jim Rutledge.
Thank you, Jim. And next up, we have John Ruttan.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I always like to start by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of the Nanaimo First Nations. I know Kim Smythe mentioned it earlier, but it's important to me as well. I think the thing to point out is that Nanaimo is on the move, and you only have to go downtown, you only have to walk along our waterfront to see things are happening. Today in the paper we learned that the housing starts, residential housing starts are up almost 40% in 2014 alone. We're working hard to try to attract more investment in this area, and we've been very successful so far. We've got strong interest in hotels at this point, and there's other investments too that will be emerging in the years to come. Hopefully, even by the end of this year, there may be some major announcements we're waiting for. But I want to tell you that how this is achieved mainly is through relationships. And I'm very proud of the relationships that we have established, that I have established with Vancouver Island University, with Nanaimo First Nations, with the Port Authority, the Airport Commission, the Chamber of Commerce. We have a number of heavy industry, Harmac and Coastal. So, it's a matter of getting all the people working in the same order. Nanaimo's on the move. We've got some exciting things happening. And I'm just very anxious to be here to finish off a number of things we've started on. This would be my 3rd term as mayor. And likely, if I can get all the things done in the next 4 years, I'm happy. I think the chances of running again after this is going to be pretty small. We need to tell Nanaimo, we need to tell people around us, we need to tell the world. Nanaimo is a wonderful place to live. It's got everything here. It's got the scenery. It's world-class diving. It's got wonderful resources here. A great employment base. We have a wonderful university in Vancouver Island University. And I think what we have to do is continue to sell Nanaimo and point out to them, this is the very best place to live, work, and play and invest. In Nanaimo, this is the place to be. On November 15th, vote John Ruttan for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And next up, I'd like to invite Al Thompson to the podium.
I'm back. Anyway, my name's Al, and as I tell everybody, I'm the next mayor of Nanaimo, so we can make this happen. What about me? Well, I'm a worker. I drive a truck for a living. Well, I own the damn thing, so that's a right expensive little hobby. But I drive and I work. I talk to people all day long, what they want, what we think we should do here. We need better management in this town. The trouble is, we have politicians. What we need are workers. These are the people that actually know what's going on in this world. People that understand everyday's problems, like me and you. We need better housing. We need cheaper housing. We don't need a lot of other stuff. We have to, not a hotel. Damn, they want to build 2 hotels. We ain't got enough people to stay in the hotels we got right now, for Christ's sake. We have to just be normal folk. No, I ain't used to talking for 2 minutes. I mean, I'm married to start with, so that'll kind of cut that off. What else about me? I'm just an ordinary working person. I can lead a team. I've done that my whole life. Every job site or every job I've ever had, I've been up in the high management, suit, tie, all that kind of stuff. I used to be the second in command of Laidlaw Waste, garbage company that didn't make it. Nothing to do with me, though. But anyway, I was second in command for Western Canada. I knew people. I went to meetings down in Toronto, Ontario, Chicago, things like that. But that meant nothing. It was just a job, just the same as the mayor's just a job. We hear people say you need an MBA to do this, an MBA to do that. You get an education like that, that's good. I think that's a credible thing. But you only still know one damn thing, and that's what you read in the book. What you need is somebody who's been out and working in the real world that knows everything. And I hate to say it, but that'd be me. Like I say, I can't think of much more to say, folks, except let's make it happen. Thanks.
Hey, Brunie, I think you got some competition there, sister.
Thank you to all of the candidates for your opening remarks. We're going to be moving on to the question period. So I will be passed some questions here from Kim. Thanks to our scrutineers for making sure all of the questions are on par for tonight. Now the questions will be directed to up to 3 candidates, or I may open the floor to all of you. You'll just answer the question from the microphones on your table. And remember, you do have those 2 rebuttal chits you can hand in if you would like a chance to comment. Just hold it up in the air and I'll be watching and make sure you get a chance to speak. Okay, so our first question this evening is directed to Bill Holdom, Bill McKay, and Roger McKinnon. And the question is, what is your position on a core review? Bill Holdom, could you please answer first?
Yes, I think, is this on? Is that better? Yes. I'm in favor of a core review that is not ideologically motivated, but is an honest and thorough review of the city's services and how they could be done better. I don't see a core review as simply a slash and burn exercise to find out where the waste is. It can be that too, but I want it to be something that it actually improves the services in Nanaimo so that we know what the best standards are for us to be achieving. So in that sense, I would certainly support a core review.
Thank you very much, Bill. Next to the other Bill at your table, Bill McKay. Could you please answer whether or not you, what your position is on a core review?
Are we on? There we go. I'm not in favor of a core review as it is normally done. I'm in favor of what I call a program and services review. Program and services review, first of all, looks at 3 different things. Number 1, what program and services do you want the city to actually provide? You're going to decide this, not a consultant. Number 2, how many resources do you want to put towards those services? And number 3, how do you intend to deliver them and pay for them?
Thank you, Bill. And Roger, your position on a core review.
Hello. My position, yes, I'm for a core review as well, but done a little different. I would want it run by mayor and council to start with, because if you have the staff running it, it's fox in the henhound like we've heard before. So I think it's a little different. And what are we trying to do? You have to remember the budget is $200 million in the city. So what we have to be doing is looking to make sure it's the budget. It's not about just cutting everything. It's about the cost, what's costing us, why does it operate? And again, like I said earlier, run it like a business to make sure why is our taxes keep going up.
Thank you. The next question is directed to Brunie Brunie, Bill Holdom, and Bill McKay. What would your council do to support the distribution and sale of locally grown food? Brunie?
Well, you know how I feel about that. There's money for everyone. We would alleviate hunger in this city by growing high-tech solar-powered greenhouses on empty city lots. It would go in restaurants, schools, old age homes, and money. There's lots of money in growing food. 80% of our food comes from with high truck costs. 3 days and the city has no food. Come on, it's the best thing. This whole city will breathe happy.
Thank you, Brunie. Bill Holdom.
I don't know whether I can top that. I think that's a wonderful plan. I think we should see agriculture, local agriculture, as an economic driver. It may have been overlooked. And I think there's great opportunities. Vancouver Island used to be self-supporting in terms of the food we eat. Now it's 80 to 90% imported. And that seems to me to be ridiculous. We have a wonderful climate here for growing all kinds of things. The greenhouse idea, I think, would be great. I think we need to encourage people as much as possible through the Economic Development Office. And I'm glad that a past council actually allowed for the sale of vegetables and other produce that's produced on your own lot.
Okay, and we're moving over to Bill McKay. What would your council do to support the distribution and sale of locally grown food?
Well, it's quite disturbing to me, actually, that about 1975, about 65 to 70% of our food was grown on Vancouver Island. Now it's about 7%. That's quite troubling. In addition to which, we only have about a 3-day supply, surprisingly enough. So we have to look. I would charge the Nanaimo Economic Development Commission. We have number one. We have a pulp mill that has waste energy. It has waste electricity. It has everything we need to get started with this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Our next question is directed to Roger McKinnon and Jim Routledge. Without council experience, who will teach you to be mayor?
That's a great question. So I guess the question to you, do you want more politicians running the city that keeps expenses where they just keep going? I'm a business person, like I said earlier. You got to run it like a business with a social conscience. So I'm not sure. I watch council at home because you know how frustrating it is if you're there live. I don't want to throw things at some of them. So I just find that very frustrating. First, it is run like a business. I've been on committees at the city, many of them for many years. I was vice chair of Imagine Nanaimo for Joy Leach, so that's how far along I've been in it. I don't think it's run like a business, like I said, and it is a business. Make sure you get your services, keep our taxes where they should be, and create jobs. And that's more what we need than just being a politician. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. And Jim Routledge.
John has been a sincere guiding light. I've watched him for a number of years, and I have great respect for the work he's done. Probably the single biggest influence in that decision would be Joy Leach. I really, really like the philosophy she lived by, get in the helicopter and stop messing with the trains. There's been a number. Frank Ney is unforgettable. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on, our next question is directed to Gary Korpan, Roger McKinnon, and Jim Routledge. What are your views on the master plan for Bevan Park? Gary?
The master plan for Bevan Park recently updated. As long as it makes sure that we include that in any core review to see whether the operations and the proposed changes are compatible with efficient operations of the city and cost-effective expenditure. I support it, as I do the efficient community plan. Joy Leach developed Plan Nanaimo, but I was the mayor that got it passed as the efficient community plan, and these updates are important to follow if we have some consistency and the priorities are followed instead of things coming out of left field. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Roger McKinnon, your views on the master plan for Bevan Park.
Hear me? Oh, there we go. Again, looking at all the services that we have in the city, just about all of them here cost us money. Versus something like Langford, where they've been building after building. I was just down there a few weeks ago with economic development. They just announced the last 8 years they did $35 million worth of new buildings for sports and culture, and their taxes went up 3%. They also announced the next 8 years they're going to do $40 million in that, and their taxes are going up 0. And most of their places actually make money because they run it properly. Ours all costs us money, and Bevins an example that we have to look at. We've got to look at any of those facilities, keep it up, and quit costing us so much money. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jim Routledge.
The master plan for Bevan Park. I am not familiar with all the details of the master plan for Bevan Park. I do go to Bevan Park. I go to the pool in the mornings. I go to the aquatic centers, and I enjoy them immensely. I would like to touch on the management role that I've emphasizing, and I do emphasize that because I think an MBA with a high standard would operate all the systems in the city, including a core review, the requirement for it. If he needs help, I will help him. I'll be there. I understand how that world works.
Thank you, Jim. And candidates, don't worry about turning off the microphones in between your answers, okay? Next up is a question for Bill McKay and Jim Routledge. Oh, Brunie? She's a rebuttal? Absolutely. You'd like to cash in a rebuttal? And Brunie, did you want to address the question about the Bevan Park Master Plan?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about parks.
Okay, let's make sure your microphone's on there. Okay.
Well, you know what? Bit by bit, our parks are taken away from us. Right now, the Georgia Park, right on the waterfront, is going to the Hilton Hotel. What's going on here? Parks are for people, and they should never be privatized, particularly our waterfront. I even heard rumors that they're going to do something on Newcastle Island. Newcastle Island, for God's sake.
Thank you, Brunie. Our next question is for Bill McKay and Jim Routledge. What exactly do you propose to do to resolve the Colliery Dam issue? Wow. Okay.
Both ready.
How about we just get on with it, for crying out loud? Enough is enough. We've studied this thing to death. Now, have we spent money wisely in some cases? Yes, and in some cases, no. Understand, we have 9 dams in this community, so we got to make sure we do it right, because if we set the standard way too high, we're going to pay for it 9 times over. So, new council comes in, we bring them up to speed, and we get on with it, for crying out loud. Thank you.
I have to stand up for this one. Colliery Dams is another indication of the management system breakdown, that we need to take a break and pause and stop. That needs just to stop. And what I propose is a 120-day moratorium on anything. Payments, staff interaction, anything. I need time to go through the process of getting a management system in place that will deal with that, and we can start fresh, but it has to stop. It just doesn't seem to want to stop.
And Brunie, I see your rebuttal chit in action there. That's your second for this evening.
Okay. I would just like to remind you that the dam would have been blown up. There was no one on council that stopped it. You know what stopped it? Jeff Solomon and all the people of this city that stopped it. And 2 years ago, did you know you nearly lost your downtown harbor to some rich Americans? That's why they let the docks fall apart. You're okay with that? And everyone on this council never said a word. Your harbor, that's leadership.
Thank you. Our next question is directed to John Ruttan and Jim Routledge. What are your strategies for engaging youth in Nanaimo municipal decision-making? John, I'll give you the first crack at that.
Am I on? Okay, it says on, but am I speaking? Okay, great. Well, you know, I think a lot of focus needs to be put on a deal more focus than we have done on the youth, and to that extent, I did establish within the last 6 months now the Mayor's Youth Task Force. We've got 12 very, very capable young people that are going to be monitoring and shadowing our City Council to come up with ideas and suggestions on ways we can be more efficient. And we feel that by engaging them at an early stage and getting some good feedback from these people, we're going to get a lot more up-to-date information.
Thank you, John.
In a word, engaging youth in the political process, jobs. I hate to keep harping on it, but there's a number of people that have had to leave town. My own niece in my office today mentioned to me that half her friends, their husbands, are working out of this town, away. And that isn't how you encourage families to come and enjoy this town and utilize all its resources. And if we are going to engage this youth, we're going to have to keep them. We're going to have to find a way for them to have a paycheck, to be able to go and enjoy and feel involved, feel respected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question sort of builds on that, and I'm going to open this up to all of the candidates, beginning with Brunie. You'll have 30 seconds to answer this question. It says, everybody talks about wanting to create well-paid jobs, which is great. However, what exactly is your strategy to do this? Please be specific.
Growing food will create lots and lots of jobs in delivery, into hospitals, schools, alleviate hunger. There is a lot of money in food. And you know what? Tourists love it. Organic food, and why can't we do it? It's the smart, best thing we could do.
And we can also make Nanaimo the most attractive and livable community in the country. Because the industries of all are getting smaller, there are many more mobile businesses now, and people can choose. The people that have those businesses can choose where they locate and where they're going to hire people to do their work. So following the Plan Nanaimo and creating the most attractive city we can is perhaps the best way we can do, best method we have to attract the businesses that will create the jobs that we need.
Gary Korpan here. I concur with what Bill just said. I also know, and you should know, that you're spending over $2 million a year on the Economic Development Commission, and we need to be following some of their suggestions and recommendations and expertise. The main reason that we should not, as a municipality, be involved in job creation is that our responsibility is to make sure that the regulatory regime and the reasonable tax rates are in place so that private sector can create jobs, and that's where I'm focused on.
Thank you. Well, the first thing we have to do is declare that we're actually open for business. So the first order of business will be to install a couple of billboards. I know we don't like signs in this town, but one at Nanoose and one at Ladysmith that say we're open for business. Here's the mayor's number, give him a call. Then we're going to have to prove to business that we're actually talking the talk and walking the walk. It's going to take some time, but we can do it.
I think I said it earlier and say it again. I guess the biggest one is Bill just said it too, be open for business. Yes, we can. So Langford that we keep repeating, or Comox Valley, a few other, there are competition we have to remember. They're trying to get people to stay in their communities and do everything else. Langford's got a whole 38-page book, and their mayor sits here, and I love this paragraph. If you're planning to visit Vancouver Island, please call me. I'd love to take you for lunch, show you around our community, and let's see what our business people have to offer you. That's what they do. And if you look at Langford has changed from, it was called Dog Patch 10 years ago. It's now what, the fastest growing city in? Let's not reinvent the wheel. There's a few places that have it. Plagiarism when you steal it from one source, research and markets when you steal it from more than one source.
Thank you, Gary. Jim.
Regarding jobs and how I would implement a job strategy, I think the most important thing basically is to listen, to give people an opportunity to put their visions on paper and introduce them to the community and have an interaction, have a public interaction. There is a process. Listen, back up on some of these immediate reactionary ways that we've been handling it, and take a good hard look at it and listen.
I just wanted to remind people that the Premier of BC was here at the VAIA conference very recently, and one of the statements that she made is that government doesn't create jobs, private enterprise and business create the jobs. And so what we need to do is to make sure that every opportunity is examined for opportunity. And EDC, Nanaimo Economic Development Corporation, is doing just that. And we also have to do more to encourage foreign and local investment because new buildings and new businesses also create jobs.
Jobs. We definitely need jobs. What I propose is More grow shows. I know a lot of you people don't like the thing about dope, smoking pot, and all that stuff, but this is a very, very big business, and it is legal. You know, Tilray out in Duke Point hires over 100 people, and their building's only the size of this room. Now, what's wrong with encouraging more of these things? Do you know that Duke Point is right next to an outfit or Harmac and a place called Cable Bay, where they want to put a whole mess of houses in there? Dumb as hell, if you ask me. It's industrial land. Let's hook it up. We're also getting 2 new big ports.
Thank you very much, Al.
And I gotta stop talking now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Gotta be harsh. Okay, our next question is directed to Bill McKay, John Ruttan, and Gary Korpan. What is your opinion on the just announced proposal by BC Ferries to potentially close the Departure Bay ferry terminal?
Well, that's today's news, folks. It's been sitting on the minister's desk for weeks. So we've got to think about what we're going to do about that. There's no reason that we can't talk about rationalizing terminals. However, this is going a little bit too far. We need those ferries, and we need them to stay where they are. Thank you.
Just to offer a little bit of clarification for people who may not have heard about this, BC Ferries is considering major changes to the service between Vancouver Island and the mainland, which may include closing one Nanaimo terminal and funneling all traffic through Tsawwassen instead of Horseshoe Bay. This is a proposal that's part of a massive rethink that BC Ferries is doing in terms of their service to the Mid-Island in a, quote, attempt to drive down billions in new capital costs and ultimately slow the rapid rise of ticket prices. BC Ferry says that this, of course, would not be an easy sell and would not be done without extensive public consultation. Just to give you some background on that. So moving over to Gary Korpan, we'll get your thoughts on this.
First off, no government in their right mind closes down multi-million-dollar facilities that they cannot easily relocate when the demand increases in the future. There is always going to be demand. There's no way we can efficiently build a bridge across the Georgia Strait. The ferry system is going to be needed for decades to come. They're not going to move out of Departure Bay. But that being said, whoever's mayor and council needs to be speaking out at these public input sessions to remind them that common sense should predominate.
And John Ruttan.
Well, you know, the concern I've got is that I spoke earlier today to the government and was trying to get a commitment from them exactly what was happening. They indicated that basically this is old news that they claim had been around for quite some time. And yet yesterday I met with 2 people from the provincial government in Victoria, the transportation department, talking about the fast ferry, and none of it was mentioned to us. We live on an island, and we need reliable transportation to and from Vancouver, and we will not give up our vehicle traffic going to Horseshoe Bay. It's absolutely essential.
Next up is a question specifically directed to Bill McKay. The question reads, were you defending Christianity on the Daily News, or the Daily News? Were you defending Christianity or the Daily News when you opposed the cancellation of Leadercast?
Actually, I was doing neither. I'll tell you what was happening that day was that it was a miscarriage. 3 minutes after 4, when you're about to go into a meeting, and you're getting a message from your city manager that there's a big kerfuffle going on, you kind of smell an ambush taking place. I saw that. I couldn't believe that, notwithstanding the fact that we had been dealing with the sponsors of that event for days, that they were not even going to be permitted to stand in front of us and defend that event. It was just absolutely ridiculous in my mind. I couldn't support it.
Thank you, Bill.
Hilary?
A rebuttal from Gary Korpan.
It's not really a rebuttal. I commend Bill for being the only person, hard to believe, in the second decade of the 21st century that 8 out of 9 members of the Nanaimo City Council don't understand the fundamental principles of the Canadian Constitution, freedom of association, free speech. How dare they censor people from speaking their mind as citizens? I have a law degree and I know the Constitution.
Thank you very much, Gary. I see Roger and Jim had his hand up first there, so I'm going to give him the first shot.
Leadercast was probably the best example of a management system breakdown. The best analogy I can use is the O-ring on the Challenger disaster. On a big complex system, one small part failed. And that's exactly what happened with Leadercast. The management system designed to prevent those things failed. The guy that was supposed to take that hammer out of Fred's hand and give him a cloth failed, okay? We need to have a management that can step up and keep up.
My turn to stand up. That one obviously has been in everyone's face, really right in front, because it was a good one, because it shows again what happened. How could you make that vote without reading the material, getting that a few minutes ahead of time? And a few things have happened lately too, and for or against, it doesn't really matter with what's just happening down at the Port Theatre, but the same thing happened. They went just to put a motion forward, and they passed, the whole thing was passed. They got to raise $8 million first, but going to give them $6 million. So the Leadercast, there's been a lot of those things happen too fast. And that one, like Gary said, was totally human rights. Read the material before you get to council. That's what has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for Bill Holdom, Bill McKay, and Roger McKinnon. It is, what do you believe is Nanaimo's sustainable competitive advantage in attracting investment relative to other island communities? Bill Holdom.
Say the phrase again, sustainable what?
Could you identify Nanaimo's sustainable competitive advantage?
Okay. Well, I'm not sure we have one yet, but certainly the fact that we're a transportation hub, and potentially could be a better one with a passenger ferry to Vancouver, means that we have that kind of advantage, that we're the first port of call for people coming over here on the ferries and by plane to our terminal south of town. But sustainable is an interesting question, and it goes to the heart of what we're trying to do in Plan Nanaimo.
Thank you very much, Bill. Over to Bill McKay.
Thank you.
Guys, you got to just stop pressing the buttons
I
in between.
know. Stop. There we go. Leave it alone, Gary. Smarten up. So listen. What have we got that's sustainable? We have our people. I'll tell you, the people I met with respect to Colliery dams, we've got some of the smartest people in the world right here in Nanaimo. That's what we've got. We've got willing workers, we've got smart people, we've got people that want to live here. That's what we've got that's sustainable.
Thank you, Bill. And Roger.
Well, I guess if you remember when we had jobs like coming out of the woodwork, long time ago, 25 years ago, we were called the Hub City. Then we changed it to Harbor City. Well, most places on the island are the Harbor City. What we have in Nanaimo is we're in the middle of the island. We should be pounding with jobs. We've got two ferries, hopefully stay there. Two ferries, I think, Harbor Air and Tofino are 52 flights a day land in the water, something like that. Consultants, we have tons of local consultants. We have people that have moved here, so why do we always hire outside, for an example? VIU, how many students that get graduated from there? We have professionals all over the place that we should be using. We just need more jobs. Thank you.
The next question is directed to all of the candidates. This is a definite hot button issue in town right now. What are your views regarding Georgia Park and the potential lease to the Hilton Hotel? We'll begin with Brunie.
Hey, I say, let's bring the Hilton Hotel on, sky high. But you know what? Just not on the waterfront. Because not on the waterfront, ever, ever, ever. It's a shame to even consider that whole deal put through really fast so that nobody knows what's happening. Right at the end of the year when the council's going to change. Maybe they knew I was going to be there to stop it. Hey, let's put the Hilton Hotel up by the university. They'll have a wonderful view. They'll be sky high. They can take trolley buses or, you know, all kinds of things. And tourists will come here. They'll come here because this will be a green, safe, wonderful, happy place.
Thank you very much, Brunie.
I think the question was about Georgia Park. I think the Hilton Hotel may already be somewhat settled. I was just talking with Lloyd Cherry before this session started, and we were remembering that we had put in the bylaw that required a referendum when any parkland was going to be sold or alienated or leased. So that is how we should deal with this question. And the staff, I must say, should have told the developer that this was going to referendum if they insisted on using a portion of the park, so that the whole proposal would not be subject to that.
Moving over to, thank you for your answer. Sorry to cut you short. Gary Korpan.
The important thing about institutions is that there has to be institutional memory to keep us all on the straight and narrow, and Lloyd Cherry is that institutional memory. He reminded us all that the bylaw is in effect that requires a referendum for any alienation of parkland, and that's fair and reasonable, and I think both Bill and I voted for that, so that's what we follow. The thing has to be, the referendum has to be fully disclosed, all the information fully disclosed so people make an informed decision, and it would have to be one heck of a good deal for the Nanaimo taxpayers for it to be approved.
Moving over to Bill.
Thank you. Thank you. The fact about Georgia Park is that in order to take any park out of our control and use for any period of time, you have to get electoral assent. So there's no decisions going to be made with any portion of Georgia Park without your permission. We must ask your permission first.
I think, again, I agree. You have to have a referendum. They've proven that, and that has to happen. The only thing that I don't like before the issue started, so forget, just use the Hilton as an example. I'm going to take that for a minute. Forget the park just for a second and forget the Hilton. Right away, a lot of councillors said no, but that's creating 300 to 650 jobs. How many VI students in hospitality could have used those jobs, trained, stayed here? But before, no matter if good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter right now. The difference was we said no. Too many of the councillors said no, and Mayor, right away, some of them, right away. We can't be doing that all the time. We have to look at it as a business plan.
Thank you.
I refer to these two hotels, and there's two. Hotel 1, Hotel 2 is the Hilton. Hotel 1, we gave away the farm. We gave away so much on that that it jaded the public for Hotel 2. I think Hotel 2 looks good. It's very early on. It's fledgling. It needs to be given some life and some space to get a foothold. But what they're asking for is to pay us for something, not be given away everything.
Okay, I think the question basically is dealing with Georgia Park and the potential hotel site there. And the previous speakers have mentioned quite correctly, Lloyd Cherry suggested and Bill Holdom mentioned, it cannot be intruded on any part of the park, of Georgia Park, without a referendum. It's just as simple as that.
My views on that? No. We don't need another damned hotel in this town. One question for everybody here. How many people in here are tourists today? Not a damned one of you, right? Yet, we want to build hotels for tourists. There ain't no tourists here. Why do we want to waste our money, give away our parkland for something that ain't happening, folks? We got to get smart here. We build for the future, not for a tourist who ain't going to show up. I mean, don't you notice global economy is getting worse?
Thank you very much, Al.
They ain't coming, folks.
Thank you for that impassioned remark. Okay, and Bill McKay, I did catch your rebuttal there. I'll give you...
This is for Mr. Rutledge. What part of we gave away the store are you referring to? We sold a piece of property for fair market value. What are you talking about?
Jim, if you wish to address those comments, that would be your second rebuttal.
Good, happy to. Hello?
Just
Hello? The Hotel 1, there was a 9-point referendum that was passed, a bylaw that was passed, giving away the DCCs, giving away the taxes for 10 years, giving away, there was 9 items, and I'm not going to spend all 30 seconds giving it away, but about $2 million worth of giveaways. And what have we got? What have we seen? We aren't even hearing what's actually going on there. All it's done is jaded the public towards Hotel number 2, which is a long-standing investor in our community that hasn't had exactly a good time. So how about giving him some space and see if he can get this one off the ground?
Thank you very much, Jim. Our next question is directed to John Ruttan, talking about what Jim calls Hotel Number 1. I understand that the Convention Center Hotel building was to start this October. What's happening with that? John?
Well, it hasn't started, actually, but that's basically what's happening. No, actually, what it is, we understand that there were some additional costs with the substructure work on it. I know Sash Angus and NEDC went over to China, spoke to the people in Suzhou, where the investors are from, and the indication is they are prepared to now increase their commitment, and they plan to proceed with it, but we don't have a start date on it, but hopefully they'll start before the end of the year.
Thank you very much. Our next question is directed to Bill McKay, John Ruttan, and Gary Korpan. It reads, asking voters to choose between so many councillors is a formidable task. Would you support introducing a ward system to ensure representation from all areas of the city and to simplify the task for the voter? Bill McKay, would you answer that first, please?
Thank you. Myself, I wouldn't be in favor of a ward system, only because of my 3 years of experience on council. I really like representing from north to south to east to west. The number of people and number of issues that I can help with throughout the city, I quite welcome. So I'm quite happy with it the way it is right now. Thank you. If I represented a ward, I never would have met some of the great people I've met over the last 3 years.
Gary Korpan, we'll open that up to you.
Ward system for Nanaimo was a disaster. The people who were able to run and even be nominated and elected were controlled by special interest groups largely. It took literally 10 years for the amalgamated city, and after the ward system was ended in 1984, for us to rationalize the different facilities that were built solely because it happened to be in one alderman's ward and not in a properly geographically located location. The ward system was a disaster. I would never support it again.
And John Ruttan.
Well, I certainly wouldn't support the ward system either. What happened previously was you ended up with a series of little kingdoms. Every time there was a dollar from the province to be invested, there was a fight over who would get it, what ward would receive it. We're still today going through some of the challenges that were created by the ward system all those many years ago, and I would certainly never support bringing it back.
Thank you. The next question is for all of the candidates. Let's mix it up. We'll start with you, Al, on answering this. The question is, how do you intend to support and be an advocate for arts and culture in Nanaimo? Al?
Well, I ain't that all artsy, I'll tell you that, but I did write a poem the other day. I read it to the people at the Globe Hotel. Didn't go over well. But no, I'm for the arts people. I'm definitely against the $4.6 million for that added-on theater, but the arts people, I like. It's good. Personally, we have a theater halfway up Nichols Street. I'd like to see that turned into Nanaimo's Got Talent. Let's make that happen. Everybody in town can go and do their thing. But overall, I don't know. Art people are good. Some people aren't. Some are.
Thank you very much, Al.
Well, I certainly support arts and culture, and remember that it wasn't that many years ago that Nanaimo was recognized as the cultural capital of the world. So we're doing a lot of things right. And I want to point out that when it comes to the rehearsal hall for the theater, the important thing to remember is that the $4.6 million that was committed is the maximum amount, and that's going to be reduced by levies and grants and government handouts that we intend to apply for. So grants are absolutely essential to make this forward and also reduce the cost of the taxpayer.
Thank you, John.
Good job, John Ruttan. I sincerely agree and support the work that was done on the Arts Center. It was smart thinking. It was matching funds. It was taking good advantage of people at the right time, and will prove to be a very useful and well-received asset in our community.
For any city to grow, it needs a very strong arts and culture, and the Port Theatre is one example of it. The other one that, if you haven't been through, is make sure you get to the Downtown Museum. that is absolutely fabulous. And when you get to actually walk through the old coal mine and read all the stories on there, it's actually really good, and that's one thing we do have. There's some other stuff is also just the galleries we have, and there's up at VIU again that helps the art students. Look at the people, Diana Krall for an example, and some other people that have come out of there. So it's very important that the whole thing, it is put together. And again, we don't spend it, we just don't spend it too fast to do whatever. They got to raise $8 million on the Port Theatre and the other part first. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So as far as arts and culture form a part of our fabric of our community, that not unlike our sports, not unlike our professional services, it's a very important part. Having said that, when we get into our review of services and programs, I want to make sure that we properly fund arts and culture along with everything else. However, that funding will be done and created and directed by you, the electorate.
The best support for arts and culture is for individuals to make the choice to support them from their own wallets, not from yours. The first motion I intend to make if elected mayor will be to rescind the $4.5 million giveaway that wasn't even asked for by the current council. A theater, rehearsal hall, that's a priority? No way.
Well, I do support arts and culture, and I support the addition to the Port Theatre. I always like projects that attract dollars from other sources. The $4.5 million is just the beginning of what that will cost, and we could be attracting $6 to $7 million from other sources, just as we did when we built the Port Theatre in the first place. It seems to me it's as important for us as a city to invest in the artistic infrastructure in this community as it is to invest in swimming pools and ice rinks. It's all part of how we recreate.
It's art and culture, my friends, that raises us up to a higher inspiration and very necessary to us as humans. My vision of a really good center instead of the Hilton Hotel would be a carving school, a residential carving school that could go right across down the coast and amalgamate it with the culture that we have in here in this city. It would be fantastic for tourists and good for us, a real boon and a feather in our cap.
Thank you, candidates. The next one, this will be our last question of the evening, and this is directed to all of the candidates. City Council approved a transportation master plan, and what other improvements and transportation additions do you think the city should consider? Brunie, I'll give you first crack here.
I rode around for a couple hours on a bus the other day, and buses are really important. First of all, let's have a bus station with amenities, with coffee and tea, and creating some real jobs by more little vendors, so that have Wi-Fi, so that taking a bus can be an experience. You can talk on your cell phone device, and it'll be really good. It'll create jobs and just really get the city moving. Buses are really important. Half the time you got to stand out there in the rain, and some people suggested maybe we could have little smaller buses so it could go better. And I would have a forum on transportation where you can all put your input in.
Thank you very much, Brunie.
Well, that's another plan that I really support, that master plan for transportation. And it calls for making sure that our roads are welcoming and safe for all users, not just motorists, but also cyclists and pedestrians and bus riders. We need to see transportation in a different way. It's a way of knitting the community together, not just going from one end of the city to the other. And so I strongly support that master transportation plan, and I think there's a lot of work we could do to implement it.
You may be surprised to know that Bill Holdom and I were the only two original champions for multi-use trailways. So cyclists in this community, you've got us two to thank for that. Larry McNabb and I were the ones that championed handy dart in this community. I support the transportation plan, but it needs to be analyzed like any other service to find out whether we're doing it efficiently and cost effectively. Thank you.
And I saw him on that bike too. Our transportation plan is almost there. However, it's short in a couple of areas. One is it doesn't look at a transit system that uses different things other than a 45-foot bus. We have to look at being more flexible on the service that we provide. The other thing is creating streets that are safe for cyclists and pedestrians. People say they won't go out on a bike, they won't go by walking because they don't feel safe. We've got to change that.
I mean, they've been working on their transportation for years, which is really good. I'm just watching it on council to see what's happening there. And again, I think it's what Gary had said. And Gary had said is, again, it's cost efficient. We've got to look at it. And the other thing is, why in the afternoon when you watch them drive by, you see two of them, or at certain times at night, why don't we have smaller ones in different shifts in certain areas? They must keep a count of how many people go, because when I see those big buses empty, drives me crazy, versus if it's in the morning. But on our transportation plan, there's more things. BC Ferries right now is very important. Is that on the list very high? All of, the planes come in, WestJet now has 2 flights. Thank you very much,
Roger.
I was one of 2 people on the transportation committee from the very beginning, and I'm happy to see that transportation plan get done. And along the way, we did a couple things that I thought were also important. With Bill Holdom's help, we actually got the first electric vehicle charging stations, and I was really happy to see that the whole transportation plan got completed with an emphasis on bike and walking and trails. It's a good document. We can keep working with it.
Well, it is a good document, and really George Anderson was the chair of that committee that put it all together, and a lot of the issues that they identified, bike lanes, more bike lanes on the road for people that choose to ride. We're moving the RDN, the regional bus service, from near Prideaux Street by the RCMP down to the waterfront ultimately at Wilcox, so we'll have a true transportation hub there as well. And we want to really spend some money and make a real major effort to try to improve the safety at a lot of our serious intersections. This all is to do with transportation, and it needs to be done.
I'm back. Anyway, buses first. Bus stops. You know where I live? We have a piece of white paper wrapped around a telephone about 20 feet up in the air. I don't even know what the hell it says, but it means bus stop. Now, how the hell am I supposed to know where a bus stop is? We don't know. And as far as the roads in this town, well, I'm a trucker and they suck. I mean, half the intersections I can't get around. And if I can't get there, you don't get your stuff. It's really simple, folks. We have to build roadways that will take transportation not only quickly and fast, but we got to make them trucker friendly. Otherwise,
you very much,
you
Al.
ain't getting your groceries,
Thanks
folks.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who submitted questions tonight. Very thoughtful questions, and candidates, thank you for your answers. Let's get down to our 1-minute closing statements. Brunie, I'll invite you up to the podium, or if you prefer to just stand and speak there, you can deliver your closing statement.
Well, if you don't vote for Brunie Brunie for mayor, you better vote for Al. At least he's got some get up and go. And don't you think it's time? Look here we are, the same old boys club. I ask you, consider voting for an honest-to-goodness woman for a change. That's what Nanaimo needs. And I will create jobs, lots of jobs, and alleviate hunger in the city of Nanaimo. We're going through a new age here. We need a new person that's got some energy, not the same old.
Thank you very much, Brunie. Bill, if you would like to come up to the podium.
Got my proper glasses this time. Well, as I was saying earlier, I do favor moving forward one step at a time, encouraging creative contributions to the well-being of our community. I really celebrate new ideas and good and fresh contributions to what we can do here. Let's expand our water supply in time to meet future needs. Let's address the pressing issues of child poverty and homelessness in our community. Let's make our streets safe and welcoming for all users. Let's streamline our development approval process, and let's use civil discourse in the relationships between council, city staff, and citizens. So that's what I'm offering: open and fair government in Nanaimo, and effective, positive leadership as your mayor. Thank you.
Gary Korpan.
My name is Gary Korpan, and on November 15th, I ask for your support. You've heard all of the promises made here tonight. We can't afford them until we know that the things we are doing are things that we need to do as opposed to frills, that we know that they're being done in a cost-effective manner. I'm the one that says stop the spending spree, end the secrecy, cut the subsidies, do a core review of all city functions. Mostly important is that you need to elect a council that's full of independents and not political slates. Go ask your candidates, are you truly an independent or are you a functionary of some special interest group? Because if the unions get one more vote, there will be a 5-vote majority and you can kiss budgetary control goodbye. November 15th, Gary Korpan for real change.
Thank you. On November 15th, please consider me as your choice for mayor. The most important thing for Nanaimo moving forward is opportunity and jobs. But it's going to take vision, it's going to take imagination. Imagine just a year ago, we would have ever imagined that we'd have a company in town called Tilray. There's over 100 good jobs out there. Well, I've been out there looking at other new opportunities. We can talk about recycling. We can talk about opportunities in de-inking of newsprint. There's all kinds of opportunities out there. It's just a matter of taking some time, looking carefully, using your imagination, and just do it. Thank you. November 15th, Bill McKay.
First of all, thank you all for coming out tonight, taking all your time, and look at the house. That's great. It's fabulous. Hopefully we're going to beat the 26% that we did last year. So I guess mine is the main 3 things I've been on is reduce property taxes. They're going up every single year. And like I said earlier, we got 10% coming up the next 3 years. We got to find a way to put a stop to this. Getting too expensive. Jobs creation. We need to keep our young people in town. And we need, like I said earlier, we got a 38% poverty rate. We got to solve that. We got to figure out, sit down and see what we can do with it. The other thing, there are companies in town. There's a web company downtown that employs 150 people. He would like to go to 500 people if he could get the lifestyle that the young people from Toronto, Calgary will move out here to do. And also if he can cut some red tape at City Hall to go build another building. So we've got to congratulate people like that are finding jobs. He is a local boy, and we need more of those to do it. So again, it's jobs. Keep your taxes down. I'm sure you don't like them going up any more than I do. So those are the things that we really got to look at. And possibilities in Nanaimo. It's endless. This is in the hub city, the middle of Vancouver Island. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Roger McKinnon.
Jim?
Well, I've been out connecting with people, and I have been told quite clearly is jobs, management, and transparency in this community. And I'm looking forward to doing what I can to help those people and help council, help the members there that are doing what they want to get us moving. And I encourage you to move your minds, move your money, move your heart towards somebody and get things moving. And if you get a chance, maybe pop by Miller's. I think they're open tonight.
Jim's buying.
John Ruttan.
Well, I would like to thank the Chamber for making this possible. You know, it's a great opportunity, a huge turnout, and as other speakers have said, we do need to do a lot better than 26% turnout, and I'm hoping that people will talk to people who will talk to people and get the turnout even bigger. You know, I have a vision for Nanaimo, and one of the things that I was very pleased to have been able to accomplish is the NEDC, Nanaimo Economic Development Corporation, rather. And they have achieved some very great things. Sasha Angus and the crew. When you look at the board of directors, there were 17 members that created this empire that they've got going now. They are going to create some wonderful opportunities for Nanaimo, and they're also going to create some jobs. We need to do more to attract industry to Nanaimo. We need to do more to attract business to Nanaimo. And you know, when you talk about industry, one of the things that has been done over the years, city councils from previous administrations onward have maintained very, very low industrial taxes. And the idea was to incent other businesses to come to Nanaimo. We need more hard union jobs, well-paying jobs in our community, and big business can do that. I support John Ruttan for mayor.
And last but not least, Al Thompson.
I'm back again. Anyway, I think all of you are smart enough in this room to realize that half the things that everybody said here tonight is pretty close to bullshit. Now, we're all... we're all going to say the same thing. What you people have to do is figure out who actually means it and who's actually going to do it. Do you want... spell out the word politician. Do you know how many I's are in politician? Well, that's what happens when you get politicians. I. When you put worker, there's no I's in worker. We just work, and we get things done. And that's what this town needs. I'm not going to tell you to vote for me. I think you're all smart enough to do that anyway. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of the candidates, and more importantly to all of you who came out tonight to hear from this broad spectrum of people hoping to represent you for the next 4 years. Please get out and vote and have your say in the future of this amazing city.